Hey everybody, welcome back to Nerd News Today. I'm Matthew, and on today's episode we're taking a look at a new statue from Diamond Select that all you Star Wars fans are gonna love. Or at least hopefully love. We're gonna find out when we open this thing up because I have no idea what the deal is with it yet. Today from Diamond Select and Gentle Giant, we're taking a look at Zeb from Star Wars Rebels. This is a 1/6 scale mini bust of that famous Lasat, who you guys know in Star Wars Rebels, and I believe has also now shown up in, spoiler alert, Ahsoka. This is not the first piece of merchandise I believe that Diamond and Gentle Giant have done of Zeb, but this is definitely a very cool one, and it's got him in this awesome iconic pose that a lot of you Rebels fans are going to recognize immediately. So I'm pretty stoked to get this guy out of the box and get a better look at him, but first things first, let's talk about this packaging real quickly. Not that there is a ton to talk about with it. Like all the Star Wars pieces that come from this brand, they're all in essentially the same kind of black box. They have a solid black triangle that's kind of in the front, some gray bits on the side, but otherwise not really the most exciting. There's no windows to take a look at this guy like you would with, let's say, a PVC piece from Diamond, but you are getting lots of photos of it from every single angle as it rotates around, so that's kind of interesting, but otherwise not much there, and no, there's no sunroof like you get with those PVC pieces either. The back of the box has a great image of the statue, which again almost looks like it's pulled right out of the cartoon, but that actually is a statue, I believe, based on how we're seeing from the front of it. And we also get a very short little bio about who this guy is, in case you didn't know about Zeb. Unlike the PVC pieces, there are no credits here to the art team, but we do get to know that this is a limited edition piece of only 3,000 pieces total. So the box is not that interesting, but I'm pretty sure Zeb is going to be a very cool piece. So let's go ahead and get our Lasat out of the packaging and take a closer look at him from all angles. Alright, and here is our Zeb statue out of the box and ready to go. Man, this thing is looking good. This is a sharp looking Zeb statue. So let's go ahead and give you guys a quick rotation as I give you my initial thoughts. And I have to admit, this is really sweet looking. You know, this was actually one I wasn't thinking was going to be that amazing, to be completely honest. I don't really know why, but to me it was just like, you know, it felt almost kind of plain in some ways. You know, this is a half bust, and it's just basically his arms and his upper body, and I don't know. When I first saw this, I was like meh about it. It wasn't too interesting, but the more I look at it now, especially as it's rotating, the more I'm like, okay, there's a lot of really cool stuff here to talk about. There's a lot of really nice designs, I should say. I was going to say decals, but some of that could be. There's a lot of nice design elements here. Good pose, solid likeness, great sculpting. You know what? There's definitely more to this piece than meets the eye. So as it wraps up its first rotation here, I want to focus first on really what is one of the most important parts of the statue, and that's to talk about the likeness. And do we think this looks like Zeb? Well, let's go ahead and start taking a closer look and breaking this thing down here. So there's a lot of defining features that Zeb and his species or his race have, and you're seeing them all on display here right now, and they look really good. They did a really nice job capturing these details. You know, the fun thing is, like, yes, he is originally from an animated series, and yes, it was a CG 3D animated series, but it still doesn't necessarily mean these things are going to translate well into something physical, something tangible. But in the case of Zeb here, I think that it really has translated very nicely, and it looks really strong. Like, they got a lot of great details here. And I think one of the things I was worried about was actually his sunken eyes and like the rings around his eyes, because that is kind of a signature part of his look. And sometimes that can be difficult to sculpt. We've seen it with actors, for example, who often have these kinds of things. You know, like Patrick Stewart has sort of sunken eyes. There's a lot of other actors out there that have this type of look, and they can be difficult to sculpt. But I think they actually really nailed this here. I like what they did with his nose. I really like the expression on his face as well. Very much digging the ears, of course. These ears are amazing. And I really like the paint job, too. Really good, clean paint job. I'll show you guys how it looks from the back as well. So you can kind of see that sort of transition from shades that we're seeing from one to the other. You know, the paint we'll talk about as we get into this review here. But, man, really nice job on the likeness and really capturing the look of who this guy is meant to be. Also really like the hair detail that's on this. Nice sculpting for that. So yeah, I think they really nailed the likeness on this character here. Really job well done. So let's kind of start talking a little bit more about the body itself now, because that also is pretty darn impressive looking here. So it's got his olive armor, which we're used to seeing, as well as the gauntlets and everything on there. And it's looking very solid again, top to bottom here. I like all these different elements and how they're coming together here. Nice design work, you know, all the little attention to detail. It's going to really be what makes the statue good or not. It's whether or not they get all those little details that we're used to seeing in the show. So, for example, like the armor that's painted here, like that's really cool. That's really nicely done. I like all that in there. Nice intricate stuff there. I always like the look of this armor as well. Likewise, you can see here. So what's kind of cool about him too, by the way, is these patterns that you're seeing on his arms and on his head. Those are actually sculpted in, so it's not just like a paint job. These are actual things that if you touch them, you can actually feel that they're kind of like sculpted in to let the artist know really where to paint them. But also, yeah, they are meant to be like separate parts of him. So it's kind of an interesting thing to note about that. It definitely adds a few more places for where light and shadow can kind of play with. You could see a lot of that in his arm here as well. And really, to me, though, I think one of the strongest parts about the statue comes in the paint job. But I want to actually take a break for one moment before I wax poetic about that and mention that we're actually missing something here still. This statue is currently incomplete. And what is missing, you might be asking? Well, how about his AB-70 rifle? So here we have it. And yeah, this is included separately because there is a space on the back of him to put this. So we're gonna go ahead and just slide this on in just as easily. That goes into place. So let's get a better look at that weapon as well, because this thing looks really cool. You can see just great detail again on that. That's gonna really be the word of the day here in this video, but yeah, it's true. A lot of really exceptional detail here is what's gonna be making up this piece and elevating it, and they did a great job with his giant blaster. I love, again, that the color mimics his outfit. This wrapping, it actually does look like wrapping. You can kind of see there's like little bits of seams coming off, kind of like open up a little bit. It's a great contrast to that metallic body that's on the blaster itself there. Wonderful metallic sheen, as I already said. Likewise, too, with the silvery bits on top here. Just great color choices. This looks really good. It looks pretty screen accurate to me. But let's go ahead and get back to the rest of the statue now that he's completely decked out the way he's supposed to be here. So one of the things that is really striking about this is the color, and this was something I was also kind of concerned about, taking something from a cartoon, putting it into three-dimensional physical form, is how they were going to do some of the things like shading and rendering, that kind of thing. And I'm pleased to say that there's actually a lot more detail than you would think in this piece, a lot more than I was expecting. So especially on the armor itself, it's not just like solid tones necessarily, there actually is like some weathering, some kind of like, flicks of paint brushes to add damage, or not even damage, but just adding wear to it. Like there's some real wear and tear on his armor, especially in the shoulders, and you can see it a little more in the back here. So it's not just one solid tone. It actually has different tones running through it that help add more dimension to it. You can see also, I think a little bit clearly on this arm, how there's some kind of like shadows and toning also there. There's some, for the most part, just darker shades to help, but you can actually see a little bit too on the back of his arms. You'll notice, like, it actually is a different color, so it's really accurate to how he looks. And that's a really cool little detail that they included in there. Because if you really look at this guy here, especially his face, you'll notice that there is kind of like a shift in tone and paint job. It goes from the sort of darker purple to a lighter purple to this very, very almost whitish purple. And we get that too in the arms. You can see it actually kind of sneaking into here, a little bit of the biceps. It's kind of cool. It almost reminds you like Thundercats a little bit. There's a really great look at it, actually. And in fact, since we're showing this off here, I flicked it off by my hands if you didn't notice. This right here is the base, and this is where you're going to find the limited edition number for the statue. There's also a card that comes with this piece as well to let you know that information, but yeah, that's all there. Let me go ahead and put this back on to him for 1 second here, and that should go back on just as easily. That was me flicking it off. Otherwise, it actually is in there pretty firm. Let's see how firm. I mean, yeah, okay, that's in there pretty solid. That's good to know. So that was just me fingering it off its hole. And now this video has been demonetized. One thing I do want to talk about real quickly is the base. Why? Because it's boring. All these bases with the Star Wars pieces tend to be the exact same thing, and that's the hockey puck, I like to call it. There's nothing really special or fancy or detailed about that at all. It is literally what you're seeing. It is a hockey puck. I call it that for a reason. So yeah, you can see here again, there's like nothing to talk about with it, but that's what they are. It's essentially just there to be uniform with the rest of the statues in the series. It does nothing for it. It neither helps it or hinders it, really. It's just keeping him standing up steady, and really it's just keeping him steady, and really at the end of the day, that's what matters. But overall, I mean, I gotta say I'm really impressed with this piece here, and the pose is really cool too. I also like that he has this like one hand over the other, because he is a battle-ready kind of character, so that really makes a lot of sense. Do I wish I could see more of the outfit? Maybe, but I also personally think the pose is really great and very strong, so I'm fine not seeing that little bit of yellow there. That same color, by the way, is repeated on his gauntlets, and you can seal it better on the back, and even with his gun, with some of the tape that's wrapped up on it. So, you don't need it. I think really the fact that he has the hand over the fist, that really tells you the story a lot better than anything else. And I think it's a really great way to do this piece. You know, I'm happy he's not, like, for example, holding his blaster or anything like that. I think just having him with, you know, one hand over the fist, it really says a lot. And when you combine it with that really great facial expression as well, it's telling you a whole story. And it's really wonderfully done altogether. And even the eyes too, I gotta admit, you know, we kind of glossed over that, but I think the eyes are also really telling you a lot. You'll see it again now as it's coming over here. You know, between the facial expression, the mouth, the pose, top to bottom, I mean, this, not only does it read like Zeb physically, but also just kind of spiritually, if you will. You know, like, it has the feeling you'd want for this character. So, job well done. Now, if you'd like to pick up this Zeb statue for yourself, go ahead and check out our affiliate links in the description of this video below. There you'll find a few different places you can pick this statue up, and if you use any of those links, it helps out this YouTube channel at no extra cost to you. So until next time, I'm Matthew, this has been Nerd News Today. Thanks for watching this video. Let me know what you think about this Zeb statue in the comments below. And until then, we will see you next time, and may the Force be with you.